Welcome to another episode of the S.E.M podcast. Jack Bryce and Zach Hewlett are here again. Today we're joined by David Lehmann. Where are you calling from, David?
I'm calling from Freiburg, Germany, right next to the Freiburg Temple.
Nice.
And
Excellent.
It's 8 p.m. in Germany, so good evening.
Good evening
Good
to you.
Indeed.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, I think you're familiar with our format. We start with how you ended up on a mission in Scotland, and then we skip over, talk about what you've been up to since, and then we'll go back and review and reminisce with you. So if you want to start us out with how you ended up in Scotland.
I'd love to. Well, I grew up in the former GDR, eastern part of Germany, behind the Iron Curtain, and was around 7 years old when the wall came down. And the first missionaries arrived then. Never seen missionaries before, never seen Americans before. So they were always great fun and good to be around and great examples. And I always wanted to be a missionary just like them. Then I finished school in the year 2002. I had 12 years of school, ready to go to university. But thought it was a good idea to go on a mission because I really was always my goal. I really looked forward to it. My father wasn't allowed to go on a mission. He always wanted to, but was never allowed to leave the country. So that was a great opportunity for me and for my family to say, I want to go on a mission. I go and serve.
Yeah.
So in September 2002, I left from Germany and went on my mission.
Great.
So that's how it came to be. And 2 years later, got home, had to do my mandatory military service for 10 months or something. And that was really the opposite of being on a mission and then being in the military. It was stark contrast.
Wow.
Lots of fun there as well. Afterwards, I got to know my wife during that time, during institute and kind of joint activities of the stake, and got married shortly after that in 2005 as well. And yeah, we got 3 kids, lived in Munich, lived in Dresden, that's near the Freiburg Temple, and now we live in Freiburg. My wife is from this town and we built a little house here. I finished my university after I got home and was married. I studied to be a mechanical engineer and worked for an automotive company. They delivered parts for cars all around the world. Did this for 10 years as a designer and engineer in development and research department. And after 10 years, I didn't want to do it anymore, and I switched my occupation to become a translator for German English. Now I'm working for the church, translating stuff like the Liahona or the General Conference talks and all the letters that they sent out into the world. So that's always fun. It's just started last year doing that, so quite new.
So you get a sneak preview of all the stuff.
That's always fun, yeah.
That's really cool.
They have to prepare the General Conference talks 2 weeks in advance, so we always get to look at them first.
Wow. That's really a neat position you're in. That's great.
I enjoy it really much because it's always fulfilling. It's something spiritual every day. You're always in the know and in the, it's quite fun.
Yeah, that's great. What ages are your children?
My kids, my oldest one, she is 15. Then the next one is 14, and the youngest one is 11. And they grow up really fast. I mean, it's been 20 years since I've been on my mission, so that's crazy anyway. But they are 20 years now, and we'll see how things develop. But good kids.
Great.
It's wonderful.
That sounds like an exciting life for you there, for sure.
David,
always-
I'm curious to know the story behind getting your mission call and your reaction to going to Scotland.
My mission call. Well, it's a very long time ago. I remember getting all the interviews done with the stake president, with my branch president at the time. And then I received a letter, just gathered the family around, opened it up, and read the words that President Gordon B. Hinckley was calling me to be a missionary in the Scotland Edinburgh Mission. I always wanted to go somewhere outside of Germany because I didn't want to stay in the same country. So that was exciting and good. And Scotland, I didn't have a preference. The States would have been good, or some exotic place like New Zealand or whatever, but Scotland was exotic enough for me.
Did you have any English training before your mission?
Yeah, I had English in school for many, many years, and it was okay, my English. But coming to Scotland, it was a whole different language.
Yeah. For sure.
Very true.
All right. So take us back to the MTC now. We'll walk through, companions, areas, however you want to roll through that.
Well, the funny thing was I started from Germany and flew from Dresden to Frankfurt, and from Frankfurt to Dresden, I guess, somewhere around there. And I flew together with my cousin. He went to the MTC at the same time as me. So we went at the same plane ride and did everything together in the MTC. And that took away a lot of excitement and nervousness there because there was somebody there I already knew. So that was good. I got a companion from Spain, Elder Hidalgo. He went to the Manchester mission, I believe. And my cousin, Elder Kozak at the time, he went to the Leeds mission. So, but we were all together in Preston, and I learned a lot of new words because church English was not part of the itinerary in school. So that was okay. We was school over again, doing all this fun stuff that you do in the MTC, getting to know a lot of premature kids going on a mission.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, the Americans were really funny because they got to see Europe for the first time in their lives, and they were just, I mean, it was funny for me because all the, they were driving on the wrong side of the road, so that was fun. And the Americans were making fun of all the small cars. They were just used to their big trucks and everything. And the food was okay. We had a good chef at the time in the MTC, so we enjoyed that. And I don't remember who my MTC president was, but it was a spiritual time, was an uplifting time, and got us all excited to go out into the mission field.
Who else was in your group that went to Scotland?
Elder Thomas from South Africa.
Yeah.
Elder Turvey from England. Elder Slater from the States. Don't know where it was from. And I think that's it. I think those four of us.
Okay. And remind me again.
Was Sister Bond in your group too?
Yes, and Sister Bond.
There you go. All right. And what was the timing of that? The month?
We left in October.
October 2002.
October 2002. We left by train, went up to Edinburgh, got there. The assistants picked us up with the mission van. We drove, I think, to see some sites in Edinburgh. We spoke with some people there. I think I went with one of the assistants, and he spoke English. The other person answered in some other language I didn't understand. It was Scottish English, but could have been Chewbacca and Han Solo talking. It was I didn't know what they were talking about. And then we got back to the mission home, had some good food with the Wilkinsons, and we had him for the first couple of months as a mission president. He was a great guy. Well, he looked always really serious, but was funny at heart. So that was a good man to be around. And yes, got my trainer. It was Elder Robert Anderson. He was on the podcast already.
Yeah.
And he was my great first companion. We went to the Cooper area, which included St Andrews, Lucas, in the Eastern Five area.
Yeah.
South of Dundee, we went to the Dundee Bingham ward, and that was my first area. And Anderson, he worked he worked really hard. Let's put it this way. And we didn't have a car, so we walked all over the place, and my shins hurt for the first 2 months. I think I had aching muscles there, and every evening I was just glad to sit down. But we walked all through the place. We drove by bus usually to St Andrews because it's where all the students were and the most productive area was. And we checked on every door. We had a plan, a map, and every street was marked. We had no more places to go afterwards. We finished there. And
wow.
It was great fun because students from all over the world came there. Tourists from all over the world came there because of the old course. A lot of Scottish heritage there as well, with the golfing and everything. And great university, lots of historic places to look at and to go to the beach. Or you had some great time there. My favorite place was a little bakery. They sold fudge donuts with cream filling, and it was the best ever.
Hi.
Anderson, he liked to eat Scottish cuisine, and he liked to try the battered Mars bar and the haggis and everything. So we ate a lot of exciting food there. And fish and chips. There was a fish and chip shops who got the best prize for being the best fish and chip shop in the UK, and we went there just to eat fish and chips, and it was really good.
Was the donut shop Fisher and Donaldson's?
Yes, it was.
I found a picture recently of me eating one of those fudgy donuts. I will not share it with everyone, but that's how I remembered. I just was looking at the package I took a picture of. So
you were in Dundee or somewhere, or where was it?
I was in Dunfermline and Montrose for portions of my mission, so I was kind of surrounding Dundee and in and out of Dundee quite a bit.
So Fisher and Donaldson, really like those donuts.
Yeah, they were great.
We had great people there in the area. Our next door neighbors, they were members. They invited us for lunch appointments regularly. Or there was a family called the Adams, and they made great food in Cooper. They rented the flat to us and took care of everything and took us to church on Sundays. And
pretty sweet deal.
So many people. I think Elder Anderson and me together, we taught so many people I never taught afterwards again. So many in 1 week, so many appointments, so many discussions. It was crazy. I thought it was always like this on the mission, and then I got also to other areas where it was a little slower going. but the first couple of months was just crazy. And was there with him till Christmas time. And during Christmas time, those next door neighbors just gave us a little TV and a little VCR. And we watched Disney movies all the time because it was allowed during Christmas time to just sit back because nobody would be excited to see missionaries at their front door.
You're right.
So we watched everything from The Grinch to, I don't know, every available Disney movie we could watch.
That's great.
My second companion was Elder Vanderhooft, Jansen Vanderhooft. If you watch Christmas devotionals with the First Presidency, there's always this choir with the bells. You know the bells they ring. He's one of those guys. He's still playing the bells. I can see him every time I watch those devotionals, and it's always fun to remember those times with him together in the mission. And he was my second companion, so it was difficult to readjust from my trainer to a new guy, but we got going and we became good friends, and it's get to learn all your weaknesses and your strengths, and you get to work with that. And I was still learning Scottish English at the time, trying to understand the people, but we had a few baptisms back then. One kid who moved to Germany afterwards, I'm still in contact with him. And also there was an old lady we taught forever. And year after I left the Cooper area, she got baptized, but she was one of those eternal investigators who finally,
Wow.
well, she was 80 years old, so it was quite a miracle she got baptized at all. But she took her time and she got baptized at the end. Her name was Flo, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
That's always great to hear when those Eternigators finally join the church.
She was also one of those nice old ladies who always gave us cans of fruit just because she was worried about us not getting enough food, and we just always got some peaches or I don't know, some stuff from her. So
That's great.
always taking care of us. And she refused to call us elder anything. She always called us by our first names. And that's the way it was. She was old enough to set the rules.
Yep.
My second area was, let me check on my cheat sheet here. March 2003, I went to Annan, which is down south. What ward is it? It's
Dumfries Ward. Yep.
Dumfries Ward. And I was there with Elder Simons from Canada. I think he was also originally from South Africa. And also a hard worker and funny guy. And I was just a short time with him together, but we lots of fun. And we visited all kinds of touristy places as well as many people there. There's the Semiling Monastery. Do you know this? There's a Tibetan monastery in the middle of Scotland, and we went there.
Oh yeah.
And visited.
The Hare Krishna's there,
Yes,
right?
I don't know. There's some Buddha sitting around. And
I drove by there, but I never stopped. I saw some pictures of missionaries who had been there. But
yeah, it's a great place to visit, and you don't expect it in the middle of Scotland. We went to the Gretna Green, which is right at the border to England, and we took some pictures outside of the mission boundaries. Well, you have the sign, "Welcome to Scotland," and somebody has to step outside of the mission boundaries and take the pictures. So. we left the mission briefly. And what else? We think many things. I was driving there. We had a car there, and other Simons liked my driving. He always called me Michael Schumacher, the German Formula One race driver. Yeah,
that's pretty funny.
And there were some funny members in this ward as well. We visited many interesting people. You get to know so many kinds of people. It's always fun. There was one guy called Brian, and he had this hobby of raising pigeons, and I think because of that hobby, he got to know President Thomas Monson because he liked pigeons as well, and so he had some connection there.
Wow.
It was fun. But he used to be a really rough guy when he was younger, getting into fights and getting drunk all the time. And one other member was a police officer, and they knew each other from this time back in the day, and he arrested him a couple of times. So it was really funny to see how they both became how they are both now members and get along with each other. But yeah, that's
funny.
Craziest things happen in Scotland. I was in Annan until June 2003, and then went up to the Shetland Islands.
Wow.
So, man, that's about the longest transfer you can do.
That was the longest transfer one could do. I went to Edinburgh by train and then by plane up to Shetland Islands, and it was a little small plane, kind of like a private plane, but commercial one. And I don't know if any of you been to Shetland or Orkney or something, but
no,
it's a tiny island.
I've been to Orkney.
Yeah, it's a tiny island, and the runway of the airfield is just at the coast. I don't know how the guy hit the airfield, but it was really scary getting down there, and just he nailed it, but I was scared to death.
Wow.
So I got picked up by Elder 5 there. He was my ex-companion, Charles 5 from Idaho, I believe.
Okay.
Still in contact with him every now and then, and he was a great guy. He was a hunter, an outdoor person, so we had lots of fun there and on the Shetland Islands. I mean, we went fishing there, and it was my first time fishing ever. And he just gave me this, how you call it, the rod.
The rod, yeah.
Rod,
Rod.
yeah.
For the first time, and I didn't know what to do. Just do it in the ocean. There, it was Atlantic Ocean, and seconds later, the first fishes were biting because there were so many of them there. So we always got good food there. We knew what to do with those fishes, how to gut them and everything.
Wow, cool.
Yes, Shetland Islands. I mean, there was a small branch there. They had a little cabin they used as a branch building when I got there, and I was there. I arrived in June, and I think it was around October when they got the new building. They bought an old library, I think, and refurbished it as a branch building, and it looked really like a church building afterwards. And they got their own places, so they were really excited for that. They didn't belong to any stake, so the district president had to come up and some general authorities to come and dedicate the place, and they had a great preparation time for that, and great members there. The Williams family, and there was a funny guys there as well, and then one guy called Scotty Dybel. We had lots of dinner appointments with his family, and always hanging out together, always coming with us on joint teaches, and they really took care of us up there. We got to see the Northern Lights. It's what the highlight of my life, to see those lights once. I mean, it's pretty much up to the polar, what do you call it, region where there's light here.
Yeah, it's true.
Other than, I think there are not too many people who live on the Shetland Islands. There are probably more sheep than people there. So we got to drive all over the place to find some people between those sheep, and it was funny. There's one time we were driving on one of those single file tracks. You know, they had just this little areas where you could avoid other oncoming traffic. And one time it was a blind summit, and I was just driving up this little hill, and on the other side there was a car coming right next onto us, and we just avoided each other by inches.
Oh my gosh!
And I ran off the street and ran into a little rock which bent the tire, and we had to fix that.
Oh goodness!
Crazy driving up there, or sheep just wandering on the street all the time, and we always had to avoid those living speed bumps. Yeah.
That's amazing. Living speed bumps.
Yeah,
that's good.
Great place. I mean, there were tons of seals and dolphins and whales all over there used to be fishermen, all of the people who lived in Shetland Islands, and they had huge whale bones in front of their doors and everything, and you were just always seeing some stuff of their past there, and they had some Viking heritage as well. So I was looking forward to stay there long enough, but I think I left just before New Year, when they build a big Viking ship up there, and then they burn it and set it on the sea and set it on fire. And I just left just before that, but they have great traditions up there. And I got to train there as well. Bradlow from Germany, you met him as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
It was difficult because he was from Germany, and all my church and missionary vocabulary was now English. I didn't try to speak German with him, but he was speaking really well English as well. But it confused me the first couple of days, and then we got going, and he wanted to work really hard and as much as possible. He was really motivated, but I had to kind of stop him in his tracks because Shetland Islands aren't this big. If you start working really fast, you won't have to do anything for the next couple of weeks or months. So I tried to curb his enthusiasm as little as possible, but as much as necessary to have a good time up there.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, pace yourself. And we were working in a little bed and breakfast up there as a service project, and they always made us food and everything. It was always fun, but we kind of reduced that as well because I Bredlow and I think was there. They split up. The couple who was taking care of this bed and breakfast, so it was getting kind of awkward between those two. And
No.
the missionaries coming and trying to tell them something about eternal families, and so we reduced that and got to work in some charity shops or thing, and some other services. But yes, that was the Shetland Islands, and afterwards I got to go down south again. This time by ferry. We went to zone conferences also by ferry, and it's a 12-hour ferry ride. So you get into the ferry in the afternoon and arrive the next day in the morning, and it's just where the North Sea and the Atlantic Ocean hit on each other. And it's one time we had 10 meters of waves, so don't know what's it in feet.
Oh my gosh.
30
Like
feet
30
wave.
feet.
Yeah. And it's a big ferry, but still those waves shook the entire thing like crazy, and it went up and down like an elevator, just shaking and trembling.
man.
Feared for your life. So always kind of an experience. And the only thing you could do was to sit in sometimes we had a cabin, but most of the times we just sat in chairs and slept on those chairs. And there was a little cinema, you could watch some movies there. So we watched Finding Nemo, I think. Couldn't do anything else during all this time. And from there, I went to Kilwinning in December of 2003. That's the urban ward. That's the closest I ever got to Glasgow. I've never been to Glasgow, any Glasgow area. I avoided that completely. Don't know it happens very often because many of the missionaries just end up in the Bermuda Triangle of Glasgow and never leave it.
Yep.
It's true.
My first companion there was Elder McAndrews, and was right around the Christmas time. He was a little homesick, not feeling too well. I think he had a little health problems at the time, always having headaches, and I think his back was also giving him trouble. So it was a slow time, but we joined the zone there for Christmas caroling with the stake present. I think was Elder President Yates. Yeah. He organized the missionaries and choir. I was to play the piano we had with us, and we were singing Christmas carols in shopping centers and some different locations all over Glasgow. So that was fun things to do there. And then I got to train again. Elder Conor Muirhead from Canada.
Yeah.
He was my second greenie. And yes, it's a nice area to be in. It's Kilwinning. There are some other cities along the coast and checked all over the place. And one of those days we went shopping with my greenie, and just I think it was in the morning, and saw some kids at the window and checked at their door, and we were kind of wondered why they're not in school, but probably some nets who didn't want to go to school. So they told us their parents weren't home, and we went on our way. And just a couple of meters later, I just realized something hit me in the back and the neck, and touched me in my neck, and I had some blood there. And I said, "Oh crap! They shot something at us, some stones or something. I don't know." So we went to the police, told them what happened, and said, "Well, just tell us where it was, and we'll sort them out. They should be in school." But they also told me to go to see them, to go to the hospital to see a doctor and check if everything's all right. So went there, got X-rayed, and the little, what do you call it, a little pellet was still stuck in my neck, probably an inch deep, just a
Holy cow.
couple of millimeters from my spine, and they had
My
had to
gosh.
operate that. So
So they
shooting
had
at me
actually shot you.
with an air rifle, and I always can tell my grandkids in mission how I got shot on my mission.
Oh gosh.
That's crazy.
That is goodness.
I was a little worried about my companion being in his first area, but he showed it like a champ. And I got to call my parents and assure them that everything is good, and I'm doing fine. So
Wow.
yes, that was crazy.
That's a first on our podcast. Nobody else has talked about
Nobody else said
shot.
they got shot. No.
Wow.
We had some run-ins with nets before and then as well, but they usually just were shouting or being, little shit there. Or they just were always there, but never acting anything awfully wrong. But those guys shot at me, yeah. And the police got them as well. And well, they were kids; they didn't persecute them, but yes, that's how that went.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Got to be district leader there as well in Kilwinning. So first time taking care of sisters with a headache. they were always having some problems you never could imagine. So
would you like to tell us which sisters were your headache?
I don't remember their names. I think one of the sisters.
Good answer. Good answer.
I don't remember them. But they were good sisters. They were working better than any missionaries, any elders. They were always the better missionaries, but also having more problems than you could imagine. So afterwards, I went to Dunfermline became a zone leader there with Elder Croshaw.
Yeah.
With him, Jeff Croshaw. He was a funny guy. We had lots of fun in Dunfermline. He called it D-line, kind of he always compared it to a ghetto because we always had the funniest run-ins with people who yes. But many great people there as well. I mean, I think I heard on the podcast before somebody talking about Karen Vickers. Do you know her?
I do know Karen, yes. Wonderful people.
Spent lots of time with her. Another guy called John Rennie who took us fishing and barbecuing all the time. And the Listons, I think you should know them as well.
I do know. I do know the Listons. They're wonderful too.
Many great people, and we met the little girl there. Her grandparents were actually members of the church, and she just visited them or had to stay with them because of a family situation back home, and she wanted to get baptized, so we taught her there, and she was such a great little spirit, and she was just 8 years old, but we got to teach her and got to baptize her, so that was a great experience there. I think it wasn't, I don't remember the place, Kelty or
Kelty. Mm-hmm.
That's where the Hargreaves lived as well.
Hargreaves, yeah.
You know them as well, yeah. So
yep.
So we got lots of fun there. Dunfermline had always, I think we had two missionaries there at the time as well. It was Elder Sariado and Elder Clarkson at the same time there. So we had a lot of fun together with them and had sleepovers and fun times all the time. I don't know if it was the same flat when you were there, but we had this little roundabout right in front of our flat, or right next to our flat.
The one down the street from the church?
No. It was just at our flat, and there were rabbits living on this roundabout. Tons of rabbits. I mean, they were. I don't know how they got there onto this roundabout, but just lived there and had their quiet time on this.
Their own little island.
Little island. They couldn't leave it because they would get run over. So
right. My goodness.
Little pets, but yes.
David, did you also cover the Cowdenbeath area when you were in that area as well?
Yes, of course, Cowdenbeath, Dalgety Bay.
Yeah.
We played a lot of basketball and soccer with the kids there, and
there was Tim and Dom, the Hudsons. Dom
Hudson. I went to visit him after my mission as well. Yeah, he was a good guy. This is sister Philippa and his brother. I can't remember his brother's name. Tim.
Yeah,
that's right.
They were wonderful. Well. They were wonderful to me. The reason I ask about Cowdenbeath is, did you go to Happy Days Club with Brian?
I remember Brian. This is Happy Days Club, the retirement kind of thing where they play bingo all the time.
Bingo and tea and smoking.
That's where we went. And Elder Croshaw, you like to be the bingo announcer. So it's a couple of times he just went up there and did the who has and two or whatever. And he was enjoying that to be the bingo guy.
Oh man, it's a lot of fun. That's amazing.
You got to help us get Jeff on here. His name's been brought up several times. We haven't been able to get him on.
Saw him a long time ago on Facebook, but that's ages ago. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know if he's still there. I tried. But yeah, he was a great guy. We had a lot of fun there. But just I was there from April to May, and then I left again up to Inverness.
Okay.
Was Inverness so needed together with Elder Hanks. Don't know his first name. He was this big guy, kind of quiet but gentle giant, and we spent some time there. And I was still in contact with Crowshaw there because he called me one of those days and told me there's this coal race in, I think it was Kelty,
Yeah.
where you have to carry the coal back. And he said, "Do you guys want to come?" And so we went down from Inverness to participate in the coal race. And the Brother Hargreaves, he won this thing again for the 10th million time. I don't know.
Yep.
And I just made it halfway, or maybe 3/4 of the way, and it was raining so bad, and this heavy sack of coal just kept slipping off my back, and I never got it back up afterwards. So
Yeah.
it was fun, but I had a sore back for the next couple of days. Couldn't move very much afterwards.
Yeah, when I was there, so Roman Bredlow was in the other companionship, and he said the same thing. It was so heavy, and he didn't quite finish the race. And I said, I was just lucky that I finished. But man, that was such a unique experience. I'll never forget that.
No training, no sports forever. It's just, didn't even know how to best position the bag on your back or your head or carry it anywhere. It just went there, and many other missionaries from around the mission came as well because it was such a great event just to participate and to spend afterwards to the Hargreaves to dry again and to eat a little, and then went back up to Inverness the same day. It's just crazy. I think we had a car, so we drove by car.
Yeah, you would have done it in 2004, and I did that race in 2005. So you just did it a year before I did, which is pretty cool timeline wise.
Yes, 2004 was. Let me see. One of the girls was called Anne Marie. Was she still there? She was the oldest one.
Yeah, Anne Marie was there, and then
and she has a younger sister as well.
Kelly was the younger sister, and then the youngest was Megan. She actually got baptized while I was there. We
taught her, but she never got baptized while we were there. So
yes. No, she was.
They
have just a great family all together. Just I don't know. I could have been in their home for hours, and there's never a dull moment, especially with John and wee John and just the rest of their family. They're just amazing people.
Yeah, when I finished as well after Elder Hanks, my next companion was Elder Asariado.
Okay.
Asariado, and we went there with him as well. He was there in Dunfermline as well, so he knew them as well, and
okay,
it was always fun. And what else? Yeah, we went. We had the entire Highland zone for us to travel around and to exchanges. So we went to Thurso and Elgin and went to the Isle of Lewis. I mean, it was more of sightseeing than anything else because he drove there to the Isle of Lewis, spent the afternoon with the elders, and then the next morning he went back because he couldn't stay much longer. But it was great. We visited the Isle of Skye there. And that's one of my favorite places in Scotland. I mean, there's just looks like Lord of the Rings there. Mountains and waterfalls and crazy nature. Some crazy cliffs and everything. So that was always our favorite preparation day activity to explore the Highlands.
How long was the drive from Inverness to the Isle of Skye?
I think 2 hours.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. I was thinking something longer than that.
You went up Loch Ness to Fort William and then see a bunch of crazy castles and everything in between, and then the Isle of Skye. There was one member living on the Isle of Skye, and we visited her as well, and also some investigators or referrals we had there, but usually it was just sightseeing.
Hey, at least you tried and went.
We always tried, and we always spoke with everybody we met, but yeah, most people in Scotland belong to the Church of Scotland. They been there once as a child being baptized, and then never again. That's what they told us. So
It's true.
but yeah, that's how it went. And then after my time finished 22nd of September, I think, my parents came to pick me up in Edinburgh, and I got there down by train, forgot most of my stuff in Inverness, but we planned on driving around Scotland anyway. So I took my parents to see places like Dunfermline, St. Andrews, Dundee. Had a good friend there, Sean McMahon. We visited him, and then also people like the Hudsons and Sister Bromwell, and also in Inverness, the Wilsons and Hamiltons and Williams and what they're called. So I tried to show my family most of those people, as much of those people as possible. And
yeah,
that was good because I could pick up my stuff I left in the Inverness flat. And yeah, we went down back to Kelty, and I remembered because our car broke down there, and I think Little John got to fix it because he's a car mechanic or something, right? And
he's a very handy guy. Yes.
Yes, and so I think he fixed that for us, and we could drive on, and we drove down to some place in London and took the ferry back to Germany, and that's
wow,
pretty much my entire mission. So I'm still surprised myself that I never served in Glasgow or Edinburgh.
Or Edinburgh, yeah, that's pretty amazing. Unique. So, tell us, do you have any specific memories of the mission presidents and their wives you served under? So, starting out with the Wilkinsons, and then it became the Vrainses. But
started out with the Wilkinsons, and this little guy, spiritual powerhouse. He was always, I think, the last couple of Lone conferences, he was speaking about the infinite atonement and how, this book, how the atonement is infinite in different areas, and he was speaking about these different areas in his talks, and it just blew my mind at the time as a little missionary. And then the Vreens came in, and it was a whole different story. I mean, President Wilkinson was just very, rules and strict obedience to the handbook and everything. He wanted to see results. He had this little bubble graphs. Do you know about those? They were little statistics you kept with little bubbles on it, how much Books of Mormon you gave away or how many teachers you had. And he just always he was all about the numbers, but he cared for his missionaries a lot. But he was very different to President Vreens, who was very laid back and just first he tried to do away with all the rules, but then he soon realized, we need some of those rules because our missionaries are going crazy. So that was funny. But Sister Vreens, she was just, I was there with her little pig nose, giving us some tips on how to clean our apartments and how to stay healthy. And yeah, that's how I remember those two guys, who both loving the missionaries, but in a very different way, each to their character. That's two men I admire and I will remember forever. I think I listened 2 years ago, I can't remember what time it was, but there was a little video of Elder President Wilkinson during Christmas time and telling the story of the fourth wise man, I believe it was, and he shared it with all the missionaries who served with him at the time. So it was good to see him again, and then you also had Elder and Sister Vreens on the podcast, so that enjoyed watching that as well. It's good to see them, and wish I could go to more mission reunions in Salt Lake, but that's still on my bucket list.
Well, now that you work for the church, you should say, hey, is there a reason I can come to April General Conference for my job? I mean, maybe you ask if you can be like the live English to German translator for when they speak, so that people can, and then you get an excuse to come to the mission reunion.
Yeah, that's right. I've been to Scotland afterwards a couple of times. I went there with my wife during our first year of marriage. She was was pregnant at the time in the 36th week or something, and yeah, they barely took us on the plane. She was really almost there, and we drove around all the place, visited all the people, and we finished on the Isle of Skye, and she just looked at me and like, where's the next hospital? And I said, there are no hospitals around, they're just shepherds or whatever who could help you, like if they have some experience with sheep, I guess. But she was scared that her first child would be born on a little island with no doctors around. But we
Delivered
made it
by a
back
shepherd.
home.
Yeah.
We made it back home without any incidents. So, but yeah, that's when I went back first. And then the second time I went back in 2009, one of the guys in Inverness, his name was Bert Little, was a really funny guy. And that was his funeral I went back to, and he asked some missionaries to speak and to perform at his baptism, at his funeral. And so I got to bless his grave.
Oh yeah, dedicate it.
I dedicated his grave, that's right. So it was great. Sad occasion, but great to be back, and went there with Elder Kofi Asariado.
Yeah.
And some other ones. Elder Peacock, I guess, was there as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bert Little, he was a legend. I mean, he don't know if you ever heard about him, but he was usually drunk in the evening and blessing the sacrament the next day.
Yeah.
We have heard of Bert for sure.
Yeah, having served with Brant Peacock the last 3 months of my mission, Bert had our cell phone number, and he called at least 3 or 4 times a week. And I'd answer the phone, and I'd be like, "Elder Peacock, it's for you," because he didn't want to talk to me.
Yeah, he was quite funny. He either liked you or didn't like you, and if he liked you, he just would do everything for you and really try as much as to help you as he could. And he came to joint teachers and fed us regularly, and we tried to keep him off the alcohol as much as possible to stay there with him during the hard times when he tried to stay sober and everything. So kept in contact with him, and kept in contact with a couple of guys who still friends with. And just recently I got to see Kofi Asariado again in London. We had a little family vacation going to London. I remembered that he was studying there back in the day, more than 10 years ago. And I just asked him, "Are you still in London?" He said, "No, I live somewhere else and up north near Preston now." He's a bishop in Huddersfield now. And well, I said, "Too bad, we are going to see London during the Easter season." And he said, "Well, I'll be there as well because my parents still live in London and it's their birthday." And so happy coincidence, we got to see each other again, and it was great to join up with our wives and kids, and they got along really well. They played some Pokemon Go, and we were chatting about old days. And
that's great.
Yeah, I saw the picture you shared on the S.E.M page. That was pretty cool to see the two of you with your families. That was really quite a cool one.
Yeah, that was good. And still being brothers in the Lord. So that's great to see and great to share with him how life went on. And
yeah, absolutely.
That's really good. All right. Well, who else do you want to call out that we need to get on here that you haven't seen come on the podcast yet? You're from a little bit younger than us. I was there for a few months with you. I came in the same time as Clarkson. So when he was serving with you, I was down in Dumfries. Have
you heard of Elder Bernard? He served in the Dundee area. I think he was zone leader there with Elder Spencer. He was the funniest guy ever, Elder Bernard. If you guys can find him, that would be really great. Who else is there? I mean, Elder Muirhead, I don't know. I haven't seen him for ages, so don't know.
We'd love to get Connor on, yeah.
Yeah, when is that?
Oh, I said we'd love to. We haven't got him scheduled yet, yeah.
Work in progress.
I think you got Kofi sometime soon.
Yeah, so first week of June is when we're talking to him, so you'll see that in June.
Looking forward to that. Who else is there? There were many great guys on my mission. I mean, you get to know them, and just on the one side, they are very spiritual, hardworking guys, and the other side, they're just little kids doing lots of crazy pranks and stuff they shouldn't be doing. And it's always fun to just compare those two sides of them. You know, it's just the way it goes. I mean, that's what you get when you put 18-year-olds. Well, at the time we were 20-year-olds, but
Yeah.
it's what you get.
It's true. Very true.
So yeah, those would be good. I mean, there's another Anderson, the blonde one. I don't remember his first name. Do you know who I'm talking about? Kevin Anderson.
Yeah.
He was really funny as well. You already got Bautista. I think. There Clausen. You remember? Did you have him already?
Yeah, not yet.
We've been in contact with him, and he's listening. So go ahead and call him out. Say, Trent, get on the podcast.
You should. Yeah. So, I mean, there are so many things. I just was reading my journals, and I'm really happy to have those things because I forgot so many things. I mean, it's 20 years ago. It's a lifetime ago, and
yeah, it is.
And looking at the pictures, there are so many things I forgot, and so many great memories that come back now. And I hope that it will stay with me as long as possible. And see, need to return to Scotland sooner than later. Just going back and
yeah, I think we all feel Scotland calling to us.
Have you been back
frequently
ever since?
I went back with my wife while she was pregnant with our first as well. She was sick the whole time, so I need to go back and give her a better experience.
You definitely should.
Yeah, I went back. Gosh, it wasn't more than like 7 or 8 months after I've been home. And so I took my family because I got into the mission in January of 2005. And I told my parents, don't you dare come pick me up in January. You will not enjoy it. So we went back in August, but I haven't been back since. So that was 2007. It's been way too long. So
it's more difficult for you guys living in the States, right?
A little bit.
Quite a trip. I just have to catch a ferry or a short plane ride, and then I'll be back. But still, getting around to do it, life keeps you busy.
It's true.
Maybe joining one of those military tattoos again, or one of those events would be great to see again. Be there.
Yeah, agreed.
Go catch that Viking boat burning in Shetland.
Yes,
that would be epic.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
And they all dress up as Vikings and shout some Swedish war songs. I don't know.
Yeah, I was in Orkney just before Christmas, and then they shut the area down, and I heard that I missed the Ba, which is like the world's largest fight, apparently.
Yeah.
But, I'd like to go back for that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the one hand, Scotland, you meet people from all walks of life. You meet the Neds and the scholars and everything in between, and it's really a great place to get to know everybody. And you would never have met all those kinds of people in your life if you would have done anything else. It's
very true.
So many experiences that stay with you all your life and help you in your work or in your personal interrelations and so on.
Agreed.
Yeah, definitely one of the greatest times I had, and still nourishes my testimony, my experiences there, and I like to look back.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. Is it captures that history, and you get to hear people who had similar experiences to you. None of us had the exact same experience, but very, different touch points for sure. And there's a brotherhood, sisterhood that exists for those of us who served in that great land. So thank you very much, David, for making the time to come on.
It was a pleasure, and still wearing my S.E.M tie every now and then, just to show the prize.
That's great.
I love that.
We love you.
All right.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Love you, David. Cheerio, brother.
Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.